Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. I've had a couple of people recently ask me not to wear the headphones, or maybe ask me why I wear the headphones. And I'll be honest, it helps me with making sure my vocals are in the right spot, and that I'm even being recorded. Also, when I'm playing videos, it's essential because I have to be able to hear it, and I can't have it going through the speakers and then into my microphone. So I think for the introduction, I won't wear the headphones, and we'll just see what people think about it. Hopefully, it will help you be able to share this with other people, and normies won't make fun of me for wearing headphones. But there's some technical reasons why I do it. Well, we've got a lot of news to get into today, guys. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. First of all, Bernie Sanders is undergoing emergency heart surgery. All of his events have been canceled. Is this the end of his presidential run for the second time? Also, yesterday, the State Department IG told the employees at the State Department that there will be an emergency meeting regarding the Ukrainian scandal that is taking place right now. Mike Pompeo is in Italy, which is interesting because we just had the visit there with John Durham and Attorney General Bill Barr. And in response to the State Department presser, I believe, Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff called their own presser in Washington, D.C. Also, we've got some information regarding one of Pelosi's assistants. It appears that she is a Ukrainian operative and connected to many people involved in this scandal. Also, Alexandra Chalupa, one of the main architects of the original Russia hoax. And then Rudy Giuliani was out yesterday and just dropping tidbits of information. It looks like he and others in the Trump administration, including the president, may be looking at suing members of Congress for the lies they've been telling. And finally, President Trump is out there talking about the coup. That's right. He has said the coup word. He's talked about treason. He's talked about it now being a coup to remove him from office, and he could not be more correct. All right, guys, we've got all of this and more, and we'll be right back after a quick word from my sponsor. Imagine if you had received a personal invitation to invest $50 in Uber when it was a startup. On IPO day, you could have made $248,250. Look at these surprising returns from these popular startup companies. Some earning 583,264% revenue surges. Fortunately, Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec and his team of ultra-successful angel investors are here to help deliver angel deals with life-changing upsides delivered to you on a silver platter. Watch the free video at www.getangelrich.com or click the link in the description to see how you can participate in these potentially lucrative deals before the mainstream even finds out about them. Once again, that's www.getangelrich.com. All right, guys, thank you for sticking around. First up, Bernie Sanders has undergone emergency heart surgery and all events are canceled. He suffered apparent chest discomfort during a campaign event on Tuesday and underwent emergency surgery. The 2020 candidate had 2 stents inserted to address a blockage in an artery, his campaign has announced. During a campaign event yesterday evening, Senator Sanders experienced some chest discomfort. Following medical evaluation and testing, he was found to have a blockage in one artery, and 2 stents were successfully inserted, said Sanders' senior advisor Jeff Weaver on Wednesday in a statement. Sanders, 78, remains hospitalized in Las Vegas, Nevada. Senator Sanders is conversing and in good spirits. He will be resting up over the next few days, Weaver said. We are canceling his events and appearances until further notice, and we will continue to provide appropriate updates. The Sanders campaign had planned to go on air with his first television ads of the campaign this week in Iowa, announcing a 2-week $1.3 million buy on Tuesday, the New York Times said. An ad tracking service, Medium Buying, said on Wednesday that Mr. Sanders began canceling those ads. The reason for the cancellation was not immediately known. Even as late as Tuesday night, Faiz Shakir, Mr. Sanders' campaign manager, was talking excitedly about the ad buy on a call with supporters. Sanders' campaign released its first television campaign advertisement on Tuesday morning. Defeating Trump is not enough. We need leadership that will fight for working families and the shrinking middle class, not just the 1%, Sanders wrote on Twitter. That is exactly what I've done my whole life and what I am prepared to do as president. Titled Fight For Us, the ad depicts the Vermont socialist as best able to defeat Trump. Bernie Sanders fighting to raise wages for American workers, leading the fight for guaranteed health care for all, standing up for civil rights, seniors, veterans, and our children's future, a narrator says. Whether it was Wall Street, the drug companies, or other powerful special interests, Bernie has taken them on for us. Now our country is at a turning point. A dangerous demagogue tearing our nation apart. Hardworking people betrayed by Trump, a healthcare system that makes enormous profits for drug and insurance companies, and a planet on the brink of a climate disaster. In this moment, we need a fighter, the narrator says. Bernie Sanders, we know he will fight for us as president because he always had, the ad ends. Now, I'm not going to waste your time by playing this ad, but I think it's pretty obvious that everything that Bernie says in this ad is a complete and total fiction. I may pay a lot for healthcare, but I'm willing to pay a lot for healthcare for the safety and security of my country and my fellow American citizens. We've got a lot of problems here in America, and I'll tell you what thing, socialism is not the answer. Bernie Sanders is also getting really, really old. It's crazy to me the age of the people on the Democratic side that they are trying to push as the frontrunners. Bernie is not a frontrunner, but at one time, he had the best opportunity to beat Trump, and the Democrats blew it because they needed their gal Hillary Clinton in the White House. Well, that didn't work out. President Trump is now in office, and now we are reaching the end of his first term. And the whole time, the Democrats and even many never-Trumpers here on the right have given the president only obstruction at every turn. However, despite that, President Trump has still achieved more in the short time that he's been in office than any other American president. Take a look back, do the research, and you will find the same thing. I've also heard something very interesting yesterday. Zak Paine, who's not someone that I follow, but it was a post that someone threw on Discord. It said that if President Trump is impeached, but he's not confirmed to be impeached by the Senate, then his first term is considered null and void, and he will get to run 2 more times. That is a pretty incredible thing to think about. Considering the fact that President Trump has done so much already, despite the obstruction, if he's able to run another 2 times, I do believe he will win another 2 terms. Absolutely incredible to think about. If anyone out there is a constitutional scholar and you can tell me about that, I would love to hear about it. Because I can't believe that Zak Paine would put that out there if it wasn't the actual truth. Although, not to say everything he puts out is true, but this is a pretty bold statement. All right, guys, on to the next one. All right, as promised yesterday, I do have a bit of a follow-up on the mystery of DOD Anon. Now, I want to direct you to Neon Revolt's website because he did an excellent breakdown of this. It's very long, so we're not going to go through it here. But all I'm going to say is that based on the sauce provided by DOD Anon, it appeared that the story was legitimate. Now, all of the information lines up, the places are real, the players are real. The only thing that we're missing is the reveal that was promised yesterday. It has not happened yet. Now, since that time, apparently the same poster has posted a different picture of his lanyard, saying that the whole thing was a LARP, asking people to please stop posting on it. Now, if this was real and his plan to reveal it through the news or through some other means or method, if it didn't go through, then it would make sense that he would want people to think it was a LARP, perhaps to secure his own safety. But I will tell you, I have information that has not been revealed anywhere else from certain other sources who at this time cannot be named. But I have firsthand information related to this very incident right here. I wish that I could tell you guys more, but all I can say is we are going to be following this story very, very closely in the coming days and weeks. I do, at this time, believe that this is a legitimate Anon inside the Department of Defense Audit Agency, and I believe that this will bear out, and this is going to be a major, major story, guys. This is a lot of money being siphoned off and sent overseas. Now, something else that I want to point you to is my interview with Robert Horton from Friday. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. Now, Robert said at that time that this was all about an unknown internal war between Britain and the United States. And the information presented by DOD Anon actually backs up what Robert said. And I thought it was very interesting that Robert revealed that on this program just prior to this information coming out from DOD Anon. All right, so from my source right here, we have a government vehicle, and it is parked in a particular parking lot. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to the sign here for PAR Systems. Now, this could have been faked, you might say, but the person that I got it from is very trustworthy, and I can tell you that it is not fake. I have blocked out the license plate here so as not to identify the source. Now, I also want to show you this. Right here, this is the parking lot where the picture was taken. These are the companies in the warehouse related to the post from DOD Anon. And just a little more sauce here. Here is a still frame from a video of this visit to this warehouse. Can't show the video yet, but this is a frame from the video. Just a little more sauce showing you guys that this is totally real. This was taken at the exact same location identified by DOD Anon. So, what I can tell you from looking at this is that we have two different people talking about the exact same situation. And these pictures and this visit to this location was prior to DOD Anon. So my source was already involved in this story before another unnamed and completely different person posted it on HalfChan. So like I said, guys, this story is real and it's not going anywhere. We're going to have to keep an eye on it because things will be heating up very, very soon. All right, I just have one more pick here for you. Sydney Lanier Drive, given to me by my source. And now I want to take you to a certain portion of Neon Revolt's article. And here it is one of the posts yesterday from DOD Anon saying, dig, dig, dig. And it mentions Par Marine and Jared LLC, the sign that I just showed you a moment ago. Now, here is the address for those warehouses which share essentially the same building, but they're on two corners, and that would be 500 Bishop Street, which is the same corner as Sydney Lanier Drive. They are right there. This is some powerful sauce, guys. So, once again, let's keep an eye on this story because it will be heating up very, very soon. I think that DOD Anon spilled the beans a little early yesterday, and I think that he got scared and he tried to walk it back. But the thing is, it's out there, and now it has been confirmed by a second source. All right, so announced yesterday, the State Department IG is expected to hold an urgent meeting Wednesday, today, about Ukraine with congressional committee staffers. The Inspector General for the State Department, Steve Linick, is reported by many outlets to have requested an urgent meeting with House and Senate committee staffers on Wednesday. The subject is reported to be Ukraine, which is the focus of the unofficial Democrat-led House impeachment investigation of Donald Trump. The urgent meeting comes as Secretary of State Pompeo is battling Congress about the investigation while overseas in Europe on official business. Now, here is an excerpt from ABC. The State Department's Inspector General is expected to give an urgent briefing to staffers from several House and Senate committees on Wednesday afternoon about documents obtained from the department's Office of Legal Advisor related to the State Department and Ukraine, sources familiar with the planned briefing told ABC News. Details of the briefing requested by Steve Linick, the Inspector General at State, remain unknown. Linick is expected to meet with congressional staff in a secure location on Capitol Hill. Fox News congressional reporter Chad Pegram also reported the meeting. He said Fox confirms the State Department IG, Steve Linick, will come to Capitol Hill to talk with House and Senate committees about Ukraine. There is tension between the Dems and State Department about providing witnesses for testimony and documents as part of impeachment probe. CNN's Shimon Prokupets quoted a Hill staffer as saying the IG's request as highly unusual and cryptically worded. And it says that right here. State Department Inspector General has requested an urgent Hill briefing with relevant committees tomorrow related to Ukraine. The email that went to staff suggested it was urgent. A congressional aide described the state IG's request as highly unusual and cryptically worded. NBC's Andrea Mitchell explained some of the back and forth with State and the Hill at Secretary Pompeo letter objecting to testimony by State Department Department officials delays appearance by former ambassador to Ukraine Masha Yovanovitch tomorrow till next week. She is still an active Foreign Service officer under his authority. Former envoy Kurt Volker quit and will testify Thursday. And then she continues, rebellion at State Department. Inspector General asks House Committee for urgent meeting to discuss Ukraine documents ahead of Thursday's deposition with former envoy Kurt Volker, despite Secretary Pompeo letter claiming Democrats are bullying his aides. Earlier Tuesday, Pompeo released a letter accusing the Democrat-led House Foreign Affairs Committee of bullying state workers. I'm concerned with aspects of the committee's request that can be understood only as an attempt to intimidate, bully, and treat improperly the distinguished professionals of the Department of State, including several career FSOs. Let me be clear, I will not tolerate such tactics, and I will use all means at my disposal to prevent and expose any attempts to intimidate the dedicated professionals who I am proud to lead and serve alongside at the Department of State. Well, this right here does appear to be the same type of thing that the Democrats have always done. They're going to call in these State Department staffers. If they are attempting to bully additional State Department employees into giving up information on President Trump or his dealings with Ukraine, I really don't think that it's going to work. But it could turn out badly for the individuals that are being asked to be questioned. I was also hearing that they told them that they didn't need to get lawyers. Now, that also brings to mind General Michael Flynn, because he was also told that he didn't need a lawyer, but we can see that did not turn out well for him. Or perhaps maybe it turned out exactly as he planned. But that's something that's playing out, and we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Now, let's go look at the information about Mike Pompeo in a little bit more in depth. All right, and here we have it. Mike Pompeo on Democrat thugs in Congress. They violated rules, told State Department officials not to contact legal counsel before testimony. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who is holding meetings in Italy, held a press conference on Wednesday afternoon in Rome. Secretary of State Pompeo told reporters he was on the July 25th Ukrainian call, which would be expected. He also said the policy with Ukraine is consistent. Of course, this is what the liberal media latched onto. But then Pompeo dropped these BOMBs on the street thugs and goons running the U.S. House committees. Pompeo told reporters how Democrats in the House violated fundamental principles, contacted State Department officials directly, and told them not to contact legal counsel. Let's go ahead and watch the clip of Mike Pompeo at the presser from earlier today.
What we objected to was the demands that were put that are deeply violate fundamental principles of separation of powers. They contacted State Department employees directly, told them not to contact legal counsel at the State Department. At least that's been reported to us. They said that the State Department wouldn't be able to be present. There are important constitutional prerogatives that the executive branch has to be present so that we can protect important information. So our partners, countries like Italy, can have confidence that the information that they provide the State Department will continue to be protected. And so the response that I provided to them was one that acknowledged that we will, of course, do our constitutional duty to cooperate with this co-equal branch. But we are going to do so in a way that is consistent with the fundamental values of the American system. And we won't tolerate folks on Capitol Hill bullying, intimidating State Department employees. That's unacceptable. And it's not something that I'm going to permit to happen. As for was I on the phone call, I was on the phone call. The phone call was in the context of, now I guess I've been the Secretary of State for coming on a year and a half. I know precisely what the American policy is with respect to Ukraine. It's been remarkably consistent, and we will continue to try to drive those set of outcomes. It's what our team, including Ambassador Volker, were focused on, was taking down the threat that Russia poses there in Ukraine. It was about helping the Ukrainians to get graft out and corruption outside of their government, and to help now this new government in the Ukraine build a successful, thriving economy. It's what the State Department officials that I've had the privilege to lead have been engaged in, and it's what we will continue to do, even while all this noise is going on.
All right, so Mike Pompeo was on the call. He said that the policy on Ukraine has been consistent the entire time, and the thing that he objects to, not the questioning of State Department employees, but the separation of powers and the violations of the rules that the Democrats in Congress have engaged in. So I think that this bullying tactic by the Democrats will not work. They are trying to get these people into a sort of perjury trap, if you will, in the way that they did with people in the Trump administration from the beginning. But luckily, Mike Pompeo is on the job. He is not going to allow that to happen. And we're just going to have to continue to watch, because this crazy impeachment scenario by the Democrats will certainly continue to play out. But I am not worried about anything. I am comfy as it gets. Now, Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff held their own press conference today. And as you can see, Nancy is wearing that winged gold pin that I believe she was wearing the night of the State of the Union when all the women wore white in protest. And she says something interesting. She says, "I pray for his safety." Not the first time that Nancy Pelosi has given a bit of a subliminal message talking about the safety of the president while speaking in public. Speaker Pelosi prays for Trump again at her press conference on impeachment. Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Representative Adam Schiff held a joint press conference on Wednesday morning on their impeachment plans against President Donald Trump. Pelosi and Schiff continued their lies against President Trump and his call with the Ukrainian president back in July. Pelosi then went on to say she prays for President Trump and his family. This is one sick woman. Let's go ahead and look at the clip.
Bill over to the Senate, H.R. 8 and H.R. 1112, two pieces of legislation that will save the most lives, and that I would hope that what he was talking about was very close to that. Oh, yes, you're going to be very pleased. That's the last I've heard of that. At that point, that is when the president segued into the telephone call in which he admitted that this call took place and that what happened was perfect. I didn't say, I said, Mr. President, it's not perfect, it's wrong. But your admission to what has now been in the public domain informs the timing of how we go forward. Again, that was the last I heard from them. Let me just say on gun violence protection, prevention, we're not going away until we get legislation signed into law that protects our children. I said to the president on another occasion, on the 200th day of the Chuck Schumer and I called the president on that. That was a couple of Sundays ago. I think like the 15th of September, maybe 2.5 weeks ago. That was the 200th day since we sent over H.R. 8. And I said to the president, I pray for you and the safety of you and your family. And I hope that pray that God will give you illumination, an enlightenment to pray, to work for the safety of other families in our country. So again, the most recent, I'm not going to say the last, I hope it's not the last, but the most recent communication I've had from the White House was in the same call where the president admitted to what he said in that phone conversation. Okay?
Madam Speaker.
In the same breath, Nancy Pelosi says she's talking about GUN violence. She says she prays for the president and his family's safety, and she asks for an enlightenment, an illumination. I feel like this is a string of sentences which go together and are clearly asking for someone to take care of the president yet again. Nancy Pelosi is a sick woman. And my good friend Mr. W texted me before I started recording this, and he said that he thinks that this pin is a message for that winged coven thing, that coven of witches that Hillary Clinton, and I would not be surprised if Nancy Pelosi also is a member of. We know that in the past there has been this idea that certain black magic witches would be placing a hex on the president and trying to cast spells which would damage him. And here she is saying she prays for his safety. Now, Nancy Pelosi is not necessarily a woman of God. I've never known her to be particularly religious. So I feel like this is a very backhanded statement and a covert message to people who would wish to do the president harm. Now, perhaps this is the reason that Nancy Pelosi is calling for harm against the president, because it turns out that her assistant is connected not only to the Ukrainian government and the military, but also to Barry's corrupt Ukrainian ambassador and Alexandra Chalupa, the woman behind the Russia collusion hoax. 2 days ago, we reported that Democrat Speaker Nancy Pelosi had a legislative assistant who was a Ukrainian party girl connecting Pelosi to Ukraine's government and military. Today, we have more connections between Pelosi, the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian military, Barry's ambassador to the Ukraine, and Alexandra Chalupa, the woman behind the Russia collusion sham investigation. The whole story starts with a glamorous party girl from the Ukraine by the name of Ivana Voronovich. Somehow, this young lady lands a legislative assistant role for the current Democrat Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And here is Ivana right there. You can see she is a blonde-haired, young, attractive woman from the Ukraine. Miss Voronovich is from the Ukraine, and she is very well connected. She claims on her social media that she's from Ukraine. She also claims she is the former administrative assistant at the USAID in Ukraine. She also claims to be the former legislative intern at Office of House Minority, now Speaker Leader Nancy Pelosi. She also claims that she was a former summer hire at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. Ivana has been following Speaker Pelosi for a long time. She often posts pictures and stories of Pelosi on her social media. Here are a couple of posts with Nancy, and that looks like it's maybe on her Facebook. Ivana really likes Democrats and is fond of posting articles of Speaker Pelosi and Representative Adam Schiff, both Democrats from California. Here are some more posts right there. Miss Voronovich didn't just get her position working for Pelosi on her good looks. Good looks alone won't get a Ukrainian girl a post in the U.S. Capitol working for the current Speaker of the House. Miss Voronovich had some help. Roman Voronovich is Ivana's father. He, too, is from Ukraine, and he is very well connected. He claims on his social media to be a Michigan graduate. He once worked as the senior communications officer at the U.S. Agency for International Development in the Ukraine. Then he held a similar job in Indonesia and then at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta. He now reports that he is the senior communications advisor at the U.S. Agency for International Development in the Ukraine. One of his most noticeable connections on social media, other than his daughter's ties with Pelosi, is with Alexandra Chalupa, the infamous Ukrainian connected to the Russia hoax. As we reported in December of 2018, Andriy Telizhenko was approached by DNC operative Alexandra Chalupa in early 2016. Chalupa wanted dirt on candidate Trump and his campaign manager Paul Manafort. The Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C. worked closely with the DNC operative Chalupa. Chalupa told Andriy she wanted Russian dirt on the Trump campaign. The Gateway pundit spoke with Telizhenko on the DNC Russiagate scandal. Well, the interview is actually 20 minutes long, so you'll be able to check the top pinned comment on this video to listen to this in depth if you like. Alexander Chalupa was apparently hired by the DNC going as far back as 2013, according to Politico. A daughter of Ukrainian immigrants who maintained strong ties with the Ukrainian-American diaspora and the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, Chalupa, a lawyer by training, in 2014 was doing pro bono work for another client interested in the Ukrainian crisis and began researching Manafort's role in Yanukovych's rise, as well as his ties to the pro-Russian oligarchs who funded Yanukovych's political party. Politico also noted that Chalupa claimed that in October of 2015, she began investigating Trump's ties to Russia. Why she began this investigation is completely unknown. Trump never had any ties with Russians. The only thing of significance that happened at this point was that Trump announced he was running for office. There was no apparent triggering event. Candidate Trump had very limited contact with Russia or Russia businessmen. Also, according to Politico, in January 2016, Chalupa suddenly and out of the blue warned the DNC about Paul Manafort. Manafort's name hadn't even been mentioned at this point in time, and Chalupa made a prediction that if Team Trump hired Paul Manafort, that it would be clear and convincing evidence that Trump had ties to Russia. Manafort worked with Hillary's campaign manager, J.P., and his brother, Tony, in the Ukraine. They worked to bring in U.S. politicians to meet with Ukrainian politicians. Ivana's father, Roman Voronovich, is not only connected to Chalupa, but he also has ties to Barry's corrupt U.S. ambassador to the Ukraine, Mary Yovanovitch, the woman who will be testifying in Congress before the committee next week. President Trump made comments about the ambassador he removed from office to the president of the Ukraine on his now infamous phone call leaked by a clown agent spying on the president in the White House. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman, was bad news, and the people she was dealing with in the Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that, Donald Trump told Volodymyr Zelensky in that famous July 25th call, according to the White House transcript. All these ties and too little time to discuss. Speaker Pelosi is no innocent bystander in the latest hoax to remove President Trump from office, the Ukraine hoax. Pelosi is a card-carrying member of impeach Trump and no doubt has been planning the latest hoax for some time. I think that it is extremely obvious, based on all of these tangential connections between Pelosi, Schiff, the Ukraines, and the former government of Ukraine, as well as the DNC operative who went there trying to dig up dirt on President Trump and people connected to him. This is another very, very in-depth and intricate narrative that they have been planning for some time. Probably the backup plan to the backup plan. Yet again, we have the Democrats creating a false narrative trying to remove the president from power, and it's all based on things that they themselves are involved in. It's just incredible. Now, Rudy was speaking on Fox News last night, and he dropped a big bit of information. He has revealed that the Trump administration, including himself and others, may sue congressional Democrats. Trump attorney and former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani told Laura Ingraham on Tuesday night that the Trump administration is considering a lawsuit against congressional Democrats. Rudy says the Trump admin has several charges they are considering filing against House Democratic leaders. Brilliant. Rudy said, I had a couple of talks with civil rights lawyers and a constitutional lawyer today, and here is what they're recommending. That we should bring a lawsuit on behalf of the president and several people in the admin, maybe even myself as a lawyer, against the members of Congress individually for violating constitutional rights. They're doing extraordinary things. For example, they're interfering with the president and exercising his rights on Article 2. The president of the United States gets to form the foreign policy of the United States. They're calling foreign leaders. They're going to foreign capitals. Senator Murphy went and threatened the president of Ukraine. Rudy added, we have to raise their violation of Constitution and civil right. This is worse than McCarthy. You guys, this is great news right here. I think that what we're seeing right now, this kind of groundswell of response from President Trump and Rudy Giuliani, other people in his administration, it just shows that they allowed the Democrats to do all of these things. President Trump tried to play fair. None of the Democrats would be willing to do so. So now we've gotten to the point where it's going to have to be taken to the courts. And guess what? We've already taken care of the courts. The courts have been stacked with conservative judges, people who agree with President Trump and his line of thinking, and who take their oath to the Constitution as seriously as President Trump and Rudy Giuliani does. Now, as I said, we are seeing a groundswell of response from President Trump and people in his orbit. And he went there. He said this is not impeachment. It's a coup intended to take away the power of the people and their vote. President Trump on Tuesday evening went all in and accused the deep state and Democrat politicians of a coup intended to take away the power of the people. And President Trump is correct. This is not impeachment. It is a coup, and it's been ongoing since before he even took office. He said, as I learn more and more each day, I am coming to the conclusion that what is taking place is not an impeachment. It is a coup intended to take away the power of the people, their vote, their freedoms, their Second Amendment, religion, military, border wall, and their God-given rights as a citizen of the United States of America. Trump said in a pair of tweets on Tuesday evening. The deep state criminals in Barry's FBI, Clowns in America, and DOJ failed to remove President Trump with the Russian collusion canard, so they are going for broke this time around. The Democrats launched an impeachment inquiry after that deep state Clowns in America spy filed a fake whistleblower complaint against Trump over his phone call, which was perfect, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky based on secondhand knowledge and hearsay. The Democrats have yet to name a crime that President Trump committed, which is further proof that this is indeed a coup. All you have to do, guys, is look back at every single action the Democrats have taken. And I've been saying it for a long time. I think all of us have been feeling it since the very beginning. Yes, this is a coup. Yes, they are trying to turn us into a banana republic based on socialistic principles. And President Trump and the people around him are finally showing us that they are taking action. I think the entire time they have been cataloging, they have been gathering evidence, and they have been building their case. And there are so many things now that the Democrats are going to need to answer for. Treason, this is. Coup with certainty, and President Trump will not be removed because we, the people, gave him the power to run this country, and we have seen everything he's done, and he has been the best possible president that we ever could have had up until this moment. I have so much hope for the future, and I am ready for the next 2 terms if this goes down. Well, guys, there you have it. As I said, things are definitely starting to heat up. We are seeing movement from the Trump team. We are seeing actions actually taken against the deep state and their funding operations, sending money overseas. I am extremely excited to continue to follow these stories and more, and I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel. If you want to, there are links in the description of this video below for several different ways that you can help out. Also, don't forget that when you support my sponsors, you are supporting the channel. Without them, I would not be able to keep doing the work that I'm doing. Also, if you are not already, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and that you click that notification bell to make sure that you get notifications every time that I do put a video out. And you can also follow me on Twitter at RedPill78. So thanks again, you guys, and I'll see you next time.